following on from my demo of Garageband on iOS 10, I've had a few questions on my YouTube video, which I'm going to answer now. So the first one, somebody rightly asked me, because they couldn't see how the thing was connected off camera, I'm going to show you how that's done first. Now, the output of your iPad, headphone output, is dual purpose. You can either wear headphones or you can send it to your stereo system, your speaker system, which is actually what I'm doing here. But I'm doing it via this iRig. Now this is a box that allows you to connect a standard guitar jack to your iPad. Now there are two different small headphone leads, one of which is the standard one. Now I'm just going to grab a piece of paper so that you can see how this works. If you look at this, you can see that a headphone jack is tip at the top, which is left, ring, which is right, and then the bottom one is your ground or earth wire. Now that's fine. The other one, which is more iOS specific, has four bands or four different connectors on. You have left output, right output, and then the one that's missing from your headphone jack is your input to your iPad, which is why you need a 4-pin connector so that you can send signals in to the iPad via the headphone output. And then the bottom one here is also a ground wire. So you've got left and right outputs, then your input, and then the ground. That's why you need a specific lead with your iRig stomp. So this allows me to connect up my bass or guitar or any other instrument that has a 1/4-inch jack plug on it. You can also buy a connector. You could, if you wanted to, you could record an old cassette into there and record it onto your iPad. So, but it'll be mono. It's not stereo input, it's only mono. It's stereo output. But that's mostly to do with the sounds that you've got on the iPad. So I'm going to record on a guitar amp here, guitar amp simulator. Now at the top left here, there's a monitor range of options, a monitor menu. If you click the jack plug, monitor on. If I set that to off, my level will be still coming in and I'll still be recording, but I won't hear what I'm doing. This might sound silly, but actually if you're singing and you don't want to hear the sound coming back into your headphones, it's actually an option that you can have. You can take away the singing voice. The other thing I've got is a noise gate. Noise gate, actually below a certain volume level, it will actually cut the level completely. Ideally, I don't really want that. It depends whether you're recording with a lot of distortion or whatever, where you'd actually wouldn't want that hiss of your guitar pedals to be recorded as well. But I'm going to leave that off. Now the input level at the top here, my version of the iRig here has got a control on it which allows you to set the input level. As you can hear, it's a bit overloaded there. I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to record a bass line along with, I've got sort of drums and a keyboard part, just playing chords. Now also there's a tuner here. Before you get started with a guitar, it's ideal to tune the thing. Blue is clean, in tune rather. Worth doing before you start, because you can't correct it afterwards. Notice that when you're recording audio, like I was just then, recording anything that's via the mic or guitars, at the end of your 8-bar loop, which is the default that you get in GarageBand, it will stop recording automatically, so it's not just keeping recording audio files. On some bits of professional gear like Logic, you can actually keep recording and it'll separate everything into takes, but that's a pro bit of software. This is free. It's £0 and 0 pennies, and it's still very good. So if I go back and look at that, the purple band showing is now my bass. And I have very basic editing features available. I can just cut bits out or silence bits of notes or whatever. But you're better off trying to get your take right in the first place. So the next question I was asked was about strings. You only get 8 chords given to you in your string parts, depending on the key that you're in. Now the key you set with the spanner symbol or the other setting symbol. Notice that this is an older iPad with GarageBand, but the principles are the same, exactly the same. Now the key, C major, that's the key we're in, and that's the key that I recorded the keyboard parts in, but it's C7. It's a bit of sort of bluesy, funky type thing. Now I get C here, but it sounds a bit too majory. Now the reason that it doesn't sound like bluesy like the backing track that I had, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record that particular string line with the backing track, and then you have to go back in afterwards and edit the chord to fit the music. So although you only have 8 chords showing here, actually you get the full range of options afterwards when you come to edit. I quite like the syncopation of that, but that's all right. I quite like that. But the chords, that some of those notes didn't fit. So if I just go back to my main page and then go into the edit window, I end up with all my string notes there, and that's what the GarageBand played in for me. So it's all very good. You can just get it to play stuff and then you can tweak it afterwards. And with the strings, you get extra controls. You can change whether the articulation is legato, so full bowing, staccato, just short notes, or pizzicato, plucked strings instead of bowed. So I'm going to just play that back and then just home in on the notes that I don't want. Don't like that. So, but the note below that does work. Now, I don't want it to be too complicated. So I'm actually going to take some of those notes away so that those strings have got a bit more impact. I'm going to take the second chord away. Now, if I just zoom in a bit more, the second chord are these 3 notes there. So I can select those much as I would with a mouse and a left clicking, by clicking on an empty space and holding, and then a little flashing square appears round my finger, which basically tells me I'm in drag mode, I'm in box drawing mode. And there are my 3 notes there that I want to get rid of. Click on one of them and click delete, and there we go. Now I want to be a little bit more sparing with my strings, so I'm going to start taking other stuff away as well. I'm going to take this one away as well. I'm going to take that on the beat chord away as well. Notice that with the pencil tool here, I can actually add more than the 4 notes that a string quartet would otherwise play. So you can create some pretty far out harmonies here. I'm just going to quickly just go through this just to make sure that I'm happy with what I've got before I start adding more notes. Okay, I'm going to take the last two chords away. Just going to zoom in a bit. Delete. Now that last chord, I want to change the articulation of that. At the moment, I've got staccato notes. If I go and draw my box again, and then click on this, one of the notes, it'll go more. Now anything that I do to one of these notes will apply to everything else that's selected. So if I go more, articulation. At the moment, staccato is ticked. So I'm going to have legato. And then I'm going to make the notes a bit longer. There we go. So I'm going to also increase the velocity of those. They're a bit quiet at the moment. I'm going to also take the velocity of those down. You can edit any aspect of this. And I'm going to make a nice fat chord at the end there. Now, if you zoom in vertically, you can then see that the notes are given on the left-hand side here. So I've got, at the moment, G, C, and I've got two G's and a C. Well, that's a waste of a G for a start. So I'm going to make that a B flat. And I'm going to add some more notes that make this into a sort of a ninth chord. Now this tool at the top allows you then to just add notes. So I'm going to... Have I got an E yet? No, I don't. Okay. I've got 5 parts there now. Nice. Okay, I'm going to go all Lydian and American here. There we go. So I can do anything that I want to do with those string parts. So the answer is, with the chords, you have to kind of use what's there and then tweak it afterwards. You don't get a full array of chords. The iOS that I've got here actually only gives you 8 chords. I believe it's 10 on iOS 10 and 11, 10 chords. But that's still not all of them. So if I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to go all Stravinsky bitonal romp, I could actually take that part, copy it, and paste it there. I'm going to go back into this. I'm going to edit the second part now. I'm going to take everything and put it down a semitone. Okay. Yeah, maybe not. But the principle is there. You can change the chords to anything you want. And my mix. I'm just going to take my mix up a little bit so I can hear the strings. It's worth trying to edit things in context. Notice that you can get solo and mute functions here. I can just listen to my... But you won't know necessarily what it sounds like with the rest of it. So try to edit it not only in context, but level-wise as well. I'm actually going to take that penultimate chord away because I think it detracts from that legato chord I've got at the end. So I'm going to just get rid of that and delete that. There we go. It just gives a bit more impact to that chord. So I'll just delete that as well. Notice that other bit that was there was pasted, so I have to edit that separately if I want to. The guitars on this have a very similar feel to the strings. We've got the same chords, C, G, D minor. You have a little bit of a finer control over those chords in that you can actually play the strings separately. And the autoplay here, you can do that sort of thing as well. Now, if I... At the moment there, I've got a straight rhythm, whereas my initial rhythm, ding 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 ding, was more of a swing rhythm. Doesn't stop me recording it though, and I'll show you why. Now, at the moment, the guitar is playing straight rhythm, and I want it to play swing. Now, you can go and find your quantization here, and actually do the 8th swing heavy. In fact, I want 16th, I think. My guitar is now lined up. So you can change the rhythmic aspect of that guitar picking as well. And of course you can change the notes as you did with the strings. I've got a straight C chord at the moment, but actually I want that C to be B flats instead. And there we go. That's already transformed that guitar part into fitting over that other bit. So that's the guitar part there. Now, if I want to go to piano, the thing with the piano is that it always sounds like you're smacking 10 bells out of it. You can decrease the velocity of the piano so that this sounds really dark and just works with the other things. So you have a velocity control on here, which I can drag downwards like that, to mean that when I hit these chords, it sounds like you just played the notes nice and quietly. Actually, it makes it sound more realistic as well. So if I do that, that piano part now just blends in a bit better. I'm just going to quantize that because it was a little bit iffy. Swing 16th heavy. Let's see what that sounds like. That sounds better already. So that's how to make a piano sound a bit more realistic. It's just take the velocity down. There's all sorts of technology here which they've developed to make the velocity work. So there are subtle differences, but actually you're better off after all, that's what you'd hear from a piano, unless you've got a toddler on it. Okay, so I've now saved my song. There we go. How do you export it to iTunes? I was asked this question. I think I went through it last time, but obviously wasn't clear enough. So if I go to Edit at the top, my tune, C7 Purdy. Now, I'm going to take this and send it to iTunes, and the answer is you get a load of options at the top. You can either copy your tune if you wanted to do an edit but keep the original. That's quite handy. You could send it to iCloud, upload song to iCloud, easy. Or you can send it elsewhere. I'm going to send mine to iTunes. So you can send it as a Garageband file. And you can actually open that on another computer, so you can work on another device, whether it be a desktop. So it's really quite flexible. So I'm just going to send mine to iTunes. This just creates a standard stereo file that would end up on your MP3 player. We have various options for artist name, composer, and all that. Now that's for MP3s only. We have audio quality. Now, unless you have a very limited amount of memory on your computer, you're best off using the uncompressed format. And if you tap on one of these, it actually gives you a little bit of a technical know-how on this. On the right-hand side here, we've got MP3s at various kilobits per second, and then we have uncompressed, which is 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit. That is the CD standard. So keep it at CD quality. No point in not, really. all of these other things, they were really used when people only had 8GB iPods or 4GB or whatever. Or if you are writing a song for web use where you want a page to open quickly, then you might go for lower quality, just so that whoever's looking at your web page doesn't have to wait 10 hours. But even then, with modern broadband, there's no point in going to these lower quality file types. So uncompressed AIFF, Apple Interchange File Format. It's essentially the same as a WAV file, which is a standard WAV uncompressed PCM file. There's loads of different ways of explaining that. So, and then I go to share. Replace. There we go. Sending to iTunes. And then when you connect your iPad up to your computer or your iCloud or wherever it is you're sending this, it'll just appear on your other device. So there we are. That is how you do various things in GarageBand and exporting this tune to iTunes.